People, Deluded, I'm back again. Before I carry on, I'm not going to lie, people, I am extremely out of breath. I just ran up my stairs. Really poor fitness, man. Fitness is mad. But moving on, we might as well speak about a couple things. Now, what have I got to speak about? In fact, the first thing I want to speak about, people, is John-Jules and Balogun of Arsenal, under 23s. I love both of them. Now, for me, you lot know I will be singing John-Jules' name in footballing terms. That sounds a bit funny. Footballing terms, to the cows come home. I really like him as a footballer. If I had to compare them, no footballer is different, and please don't get hung up on this, but I think Tyrese is more Lacazette, Balogun is more Aubameyang. Now, I feel Balogun's link-up play is very good, but similar to Aubameyang's is better than what people state. But them man there, when you say their names, you think of goals. I feel John-Jules is the same, but I feel he's not exactly like Lacazette, but he's very similar. They drop deep. They like to make things happen and create. He can play with his back to goal, but if you ask him, he's probably more comfortable coming deep, trying to get involved. He can score goals. He can play simple. He can complicate things. I really think both of them are going to have solid careers. And I think in particular with Balogun, I've made a video about this, with the whole dynamic of English players being taken from England academies to clubs abroad or elsewhere where there's a pathway. I think if you're looking at players, or if you're a German club, French club, or someone that's your sort of thing, you take players, especially English players now, then you've got to be looking at Balogun. They knew he was a gunman in front of goal. They definitely know now. He's stepped up to 23's football like it's nothing. 6 goals in 6 games, 4 assists, people. He, depending on the pathway at Arsenal and whatnot, you could easily make a case to see him leaving the club for 2.5 or something million with a sell-on fee and going elsewhere. And that might be something for him to consider if the pathway isn't here. Because he's obviously 18, he's turning 19 next year. But these are the things you need to think about. Do you want to be playing 23s longer than you have to be? And he's stepped up to this level. Obviously, you have to show you can do this again. But do you want to play this? For me, John-Jules, if that man is not on loan in January, there's something wrong, because him and Balogun, obviously we can't let both of them go because the 23s need a striker of sorts, but it's a crime that both of them are playing 23s. They're both not ready clearly to start for a club week in, week out, but they need to go and test themselves against grown men, against grown individuals. And I think both of them, all young players can do is play well and play in good form. They've both done that respectively, and both of them have to be involved against Forest in some capacity. I don't care if both start, I don't care if one starts, I don't care if one's on the bench and one starts, that's the same thing. But one needs to play. So to me, I'm going to go with John-Jules just slightly, but Balogun can start. I think both of them should get some minutes in that game. Aubameyang should be dropped to the bench purely because he got however many significant minutes that we'd all say against Frankfurt. It was our hero essentially with that free kick against Villa. He's been playing, he's been our man in form, and he's been got great goal scoring form. But do you really want to risk him against Forest? No disrespect. For me, you put him on the bench and you only utilise him if need be, with half an hour left if we're chasing the game. For me, you go with all the young players for this sort of game, and you allow some players to get it off. We have to play some players that are push. For me, it would be Bellerin and Turney. If they're not fit, then Kolasinac and probably Chambers has to go in at right back. I say that because I don't know the status of Malen now. I know he was technically sent off but injured. But I believe Tyrese and Balogun have to get involved, people. If one striker cannot progress to the first team of some capacity, in Balogun, Tyrese and Eddie and Kay, there's something wrong, people. Because I look at Man United, I know people will say whatever about Rashford. Is he a striker? Is he not a striker? At the end of the day, he's progressed. He's played a couple of games up there, to put it nicely. They've obviously got Greenwood. Why can't we have something like that? 2 young strikers coming for our academy. I wanted Malen to stay, and he scored at the weekend again against Ajax, I believe, and allegedly we want Daniel Malen back, but one of them two have to play. For me, Greenwood's been in great form, and not before too long he's probably got to get a look in the 23s before he elevates to first team. But he's the next one I'm looking at, and Greenwood doesn't have to exclusively be a striker, but we've got some great players playing and coming through the pipeline at this club. So I wanted to say that. Apparently we've been linked with Daniel Malen again, and so have Liverpool. Apparently you're seeing £50 million. Would he want to come back? And an element of unfinished business here. You listen to him, he's only got good things to say about the club. Who knows? But would we shell out this 40, 50, 60 million that's being quoted? I'm not sure. I would love him back. I would love Jeffrey Adelaide back as well, people. Moving away from that, obviously Guendouzi played great yesterday, and this is why I have a problem with away from constructive criticism, fans that say he's not good enough and stuff. The man is good enough, and you see what it means to Guendouzi. He's got the grit and the determination and damn right the personality to play at this club and the technical abilities. Yes, he frustrates in several incidences, and it's about maximising what he's good at and zeroing in and minimising the effects of what he's bad at. But for me, he's a good player, man. He's leading by example. He's inexperienced relatively in comparison to some of his more senior experienced pros, but he's standing up to be counted. And it's these young players that are the ones making the difference for us. Now, the only experienced player you can say really playing out of their skin currently is Aubameyang. There's nothing more we can ask of Aubameyang. He's scoring goals for fun. He's doing what he needs to do. There's nothing more he can do. But I like my young players, and I'm happy for all of my young players. The Saka's playing well, Guendouzi's, all of these, Joe Willock, when he's not so much of recent couple weeks, but he's had his time. But it is concerning that I'm just speaking about these young players and these senior pros. I'm here saying, oh, Socrates is diving, Socrates mistake, Luis this, Leno this guy this, Xhaka that. Do you get it, people? It's concerning that these more experienced players who arguably have more on the line to lose if they don't get Champions League football this season, it does make me cringe, people. And in terms of Arsenal, I don't know what's wrong with us, because obviously we started off poorly against Aston Villa. We were respecting Aston Villa way too much, and we made harder work of it because there's a lack of everything in our team. Defensively, there's issues. Offensively, we don't really have a plan. It's no coincidence. Look at us in the first half and the second half. We're going to play better. We have more chance of scoring when we have the bit between our teeth, when we're actually trying to score goals, when we're actually trying to put it in behind, when we're actually having shots, people. It makes no sense. Something needs to be done as well, because Arsenal shots this season, we've had 62 shots at home and 24 in away games. Shots against at home games, we've had 45 shots, and in away games it's been 65. So we're still very much open. We're still very much allowing teams to have efforts, man. And I know it was a good turnaround and whatnot, but in the whole first half we only had 6 shots. Within 12 minutes after the substitutions of Xhaka and Ceballos for Willock and Torreira respectively, introducing more energy, more pressing and more urgency, we had 7 shots, people. Imagine if that was from the start. We only had 7 shots in our opening 60 minutes, people. The penalty was the first shot in the second half, apparently statistics say. So again, there is something we need to do, because I was called a hater for saying this last season. We're just relying on individual moments. You can go back last season and look at how we turned it around against Cardiff, the goals against Fulham away from home, or games like this. Because if this game happened last season when we was 22 games unbeaten, people would shut up. People would harp on about how the subs made a difference, which to be fair they did. How we have grit, determination, how we're effective because we had less shots and we've scored more goals. But people like to just shut up and quiet off about something until it actually happens, or they see it in a different light and it becomes a bigger issue. So hopefully we've got an important next game. We got the 3 points against Aston Villa because we needed to. We've got United away from home. It wasn't convincing, and we need to step up. Obviously, you saw Xhaka booed yesterday. Now, for me, Xhaka played terrible. I've defended Xhaka a lot of times, and I will defend where I see fit. I think he's a decent player. He's a good, decent addition in the squad. I would not play him week in, week out, because do I need to state the obvious of what he does wrong? Like, he's a liability, to put it nicely. He was booed, and at the end of the day, I can't really defend fans, and I think a bit of that is obviously because they don't necessarily, I wouldn't say they don't like Xhaka because they don't know him as a person, but as a footballer, they don't like him. I'd say a bit of that is frustration at Emery as well. Emery's reluctance to substitute, Emery's reluctance to persist with him. Bit bewildering what's going on with him and Torreira. Is there a bust-up? I do think on one hand he was carrying an injury, but now he seems to be fully fit. He's not playing, and when he does, he seems to be trying to make him the Uruguayan Aaron Ramsey. So why is he changing? We all know Guendouzi and Torreira weren't his signings. We've heard recently there were concerns about Torreira's physicality and how he wanted Nzonzi instead. So what's going on with that? But I genuinely believe Emery, again, as poor as you think Xhaka is, it's unfair to say Xhaka is the sole reason we won't get top 4 and whatnot. I do think a big contribution in losing his job will be Xhaka, because Xhaka being first team week in, week out means other players are going to get less game time. He's not dynamic, he's not mobile enough, and if he wasn't dynamic and mobile, it wouldn't be a thing if he realised this and stayed back. But he's got no defensive brain in his body really, and he plays with blinkers. thus make him a liability. I don't think he's a terrible player. He just 9 times out of 10 makes terrible decisions. And if we're honest, we need to persist with other options. Was finally substituted. We'll be back against United, people. But I don't know where I stand on the boos. I think a lot of that is frustration. Obviously, I don't like any player to get booed. It's demoralising, but this is the life they live, really and truly, and the criticism they live. I don't feel the booing was over the top. You saw the same way a lot of it was frustration. They cheered on Torreira coming on. So a lot of it was just fans being frustrated more than anything, really and truly, people. We have not played convincingly in a while. I don't know how we're going to get top 4, but we just need to do it, people. I've got nothing more to add at this point, so I'm going to get out of here. People, Deluded, thank you for watching and rocking out.